People like to say heartbreak kills slowly. They're wrong. It doesn't creep in like a thief, it strikes like lightning, all at once, and leaves you gasping for air. That was me the night I found out my twin brother had taken the only boy I had ever loved. I was 19, standing under the neon glow of a gas station sign in a small town in Ohio, when my entire world shattered. The Alpha Noah, the boy I thought was mine, was leaning against his truck, lips tangled with my twin. The look in his eyes wasn't casual. It was devotion, the kind of devotion I had prayed would one day be mine. And that's how I learned betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it wears your face. The thing is, I didn't die that night, though I thought I might. I walked away. I left my family, my town, my name. For years, I carried the weight of being the boy who wasn't enough, who wasn't chosen. But fate, in its cruel and twisted humor, gave me something else. A chance. I don't know if you believe in rebirth. I didn't either until it happened to me. One morning, I woke up with the same heartbreak, the same scars, but the years I'd lost were mine again. I was back to the very moment before Noah ever looked at me, before my twin ever sank his claws into the boy I loved. And this time I swore I would not stay. I would not beg for scraps of affection. I would leave, but I hadn't expected him. The stranger who appeared at the edges of my story, as if he had been waiting for me all along. His name was Adrian. He wasn't from my town. He wasn't part of the whispered gossip or the cruel games of popularity. He was older, by 2 years, a transfer student with a quiet smile that seemed to see through every wall I had built. Where Noah was all fire and recklessness, Adrian was steady, like the calm after a storm. He didn't chase attention, he chased me. And God help me, I didn't know how to stop him. I met him on the bleachers one evening after school. I had been sitting alone, staring at the empty football field, telling myself I wouldn't cry again. Not for Noah, not for anyone. "You look like someone who's rehearsing a goodbye," Adrian had said, sliding down the bench beside me. His voice was low, patient, and impossibly sure of itself. I didn't answer. I didn't know him, my story. But he didn't move, didn't push. He just sat there, like my silence wasn't something to fix but something to share. "You don't know me," I muttered finally. "No," he said, "but I want to." And that was the beginning. At first I thought he was joking. Who would want to get close to the boy who carried rejection like a scarlet letter? Who would choose me when I hadn't even chosen myself? But Adrian kept showing up at the diner where I worked, at the corner of the library where I thought I was invisible, even at the trail by the lake where I went to run until my lungs burned. "Are you following me?" I snapped one day, half exasperated, half terrified. "Yes," he said simply. "Until you stop running." I didn't know whether to laugh or scream, but in that moment, with the autumn wind in my face and his eyes steady on mine, something cracked. Something I thought was dead inside me. The world wasn't kind to boys like us. In my town, love between men was a secret you buried under years of silence. You learned to lie with a smile, to laugh at jokes that cut you open, to watch the boy you loved hold someone else's hand while pretending you were fine. That was the rule. That was survival. But Adrian didn't believe in rules. He was reckless in a quiet way, not loud, not flamboyant, but stubborn. He would stand too close to me in hallways, his shoulder brushing mine as if daring the world to notice. He would look at me too long in crowded rooms, making my chest ache with a mixture of fear and longing. And once, when the night was too heavy and I couldn't hold my pain anymore, he touched my hand. Just that. His fingers warm against mine, hidden under the safety of shadows. "You don't have to carry it alone," he whispered. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But how could I when I knew how this story ended? Didn't I already learn that love wasn't meant for me? That no matter how much I gave, I'd always be second choice? Still, something about Adrian was different. He wasn't trying to heal me. He wasn't promising to make it easy. He was just there, unyielding, like he had decided I was worth the fight even if I didn't think so myself. One night, after weeks of holding everything in, I broke. We were sitting on the hood of his car, parked by the lake. The water reflected the stars, and the air was sharp with October chill. "You don't know what you're doing," I told him, my voice raw. "You don't know what it's like to be me. To love someone so much they become the air you breathe, only to watch them give that air to someone else. You don't know what it's like to be left behind by your own blood. You don't know what it's like to—" Adrian cut me off. Not with words. With a kiss. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't desperate. It was steady, grounding, like he was teaching me a language I'd never been allowed to speak. When he pulled back, he looked at me with a certainty that made my chest ache. "I don't need to know everything," he said. "I just need to know you. And I do. More than you think." I wanted to push him away. I wanted to tell him he was wrong, that he would regret this, that loving me was a mistake. But I couldn't, because for the first time in years I didn't feel like a mistake. I felt seen, and that terrified me more than anything. Because if I let myself believe him, if I let myself hope again, what would happen when the world tore it away? I didn't know then that Adrian wasn't like Noah. He wasn't going to leave. He wasn't going to look at someone else and forget my face. He had already chosen me, in ways I couldn't yet understand. And slowly, painfully, beautifully, I began to choose him too. The first time Noah saw us together, it felt like the world stopped breathing. We were walking down Main Street, Adrian's hand grazing mine just enough to remind me he was there, unshaken, unafraid. Then I saw him, Noah, leaning against his truck, the same one where my heart had broken once before. My twin stood beside him, smirking, like he had won again. I froze. My body remembered the old ache, the humiliation, the weight of being less. But Adrian didn't flinch. He stepped closer, his hand sliding fully into mine. His grip was steady, defiant. Noah's eyes narrowed. My twin whispered something into his ear, and they both laughed, sharp as knives. I expected Adrian to let go, to pretend, to save himself the cruelty. But instead, he looked right at Noah and said, loud enough for the street to hear, "He's not your second choice. He's my only choice." The silence after those words was deafening. People stared. My twin's face burned with anger, and Noah's jaw tightened like he'd just realized he lost a war he didn't even know he was fighting. And me? Couldn't breathe, because no one had ever fought for me like that before. That night, in Adrian's car, I broke again. Not the kind of break that destroys you, the kind that sets you free. "You can't just do that," I whispered, staring at him, my chest tight. "You can't just stand there and tell the whole damn world." "Yes, I can," he said firmly. "And I will, because I don't care what they think. I care what you feel, and I won't let them bury you under their lies." I wanted to scream, to cry, to argue that love like ours wasn't safe. But then he kissed me again, harder this time, desperate, like he was pouring every ounce of truth he had into me. And I realized safety was never what I needed. I needed someone who wouldn't let me run from myself. The weeks that followed weren't easy. My twin taunted me in hallways, whispering poison. Noah avoided me, but his shadow loomed everywhere, reminding me of the love I thought I lost. People talked. God, did they talk? Boys at school laughed. Girls whispered. Parents frowned when they saw Adrian and me too close. But every time I doubted, Adrian pulled me back. He didn't need grand speeches or perfect words. He just showed up. When the world shoved me down, he knelt beside me and offered his hand. When I wanted to disappear, he found me and reminded me I wasn't invisible. And slowly, their voices began to fade. Not because they stopped, but because his voice grew louder inside me. One night, as snow dusted the ground and Christmas lights blinked in tired windows, I stood outside my house, the one I had sworn I'd never come back to. Adrian stood beside me, quiet, waiting. "You don't have to do this," he said softly. "Yes, I do," I answered, my voice shaking. "I need to know I can face them, face him, face myself." I walked inside. My parents stared. My twins smirked. And Noah couldn't even look at me. "I'm not here to beg," I said, my hands trembling. "I'm not here to fight. I just want you all to know. I'm done being the shadow. I'm done being the boy who wasn't enough. Because I am enough. Maybe not for you, maybe not for him." I glanced at Noah, my chest tightening. But I'm enough for myself. And for someone who sees me. Really sees me. I didn't say Adrian's name. I didn't have to. Because the way he stepped forward, the way he placed his hand gently at the small of my back, told everyone in that room the truth. And for once I wasn't ashamed. Spring came slowly. The snow melted, and with it the weight I had carried for years. Adrian and I spent afternoons by the lake, evenings on rooftops, nights in the quiet corners of town where no one dared to follow. There were still whispers, still stares. But I had stopped counting them. One evening, as the sun sank low and the world turned gold, Adrian pulled me close. His forehead rested against mine, his breath warm against my lips. "You know what the hardest part was?" he murmured. "What?" "Waiting for you to believe me," he said. "That I wasn't going anywhere. That I didn't care who else tried to claim you. That from the moment I saw you, I knew you were it." Tears burned in my eyes, but I didn't look away. Not this time. "And you know what the hardest part for me was?" I whispered back. He smiled faintly. "What?" "Letting myself believe it." I kissed him then, not out of fear, not out of desperation, but out of something deeper, something that felt like finally breathing after years underwater. They were wrong, the people who said heartbreak kills slowly. Because sometimes heartbreak is the thing that saves you. Tears you apart, yes, but it also clears the wreckage so something stronger can take root. I wasn't the boy left behind anymore. I wasn't the second choice, the forgotten twin, the shadow of someone else's story. I was loved. Fully, fiercely, irrevocably. And when Adrian held my hand as we walked through town, when he pressed a kiss to my temple under the watching eyes of strangers, when he whispered, "You're mine, only mine," against my skin, I finally believed it. Because in the end, love wasn't about who got there first. It wasn't about who the world thought deserved to win. It was about who stayed. And Adrian stayed. Always. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.